What's up, family? Welcome back to the Stop Sinking Show, where we go from struggle to flow. In a world where most of us don't feel good enough, where most of us are fighting out the not feeling good enough in everything, self-worth issues, some of which I think is okay to have to a degree. And there's a polar opposite feeling from this feeling inferior, and that's feeling superior. The only difference, unless you're completely delusional, is that your sense of superiority hopefully comes from something substantial, something that you can stand on. Your inferiority complex might just as well be delusional, or it may have a bunch of stacked evidence for why you think you're inferior, and that's what comes to your mind every time you want to feel bad about yourself. But if we're being honest, I don't know if that feeling ever really goes away. The deeper you dive into anything, the more you realize how little you actually know. But any sense of superiority is not exactly like that. Again, unless you're delusional and fool yourself, Dunning-Kruger, and think you're better than you are, and then in that state, you cannot sustain that sense of superiority. The only sustainable sense of superiority comes from earning it, comes from your daily habits and actually acting and behaving and showing up as superior. I started thinking about this the other day because I was watching a few minutes of the Andy Frisella podcast. And in the beginning, his co-host, before getting into the main topic, started talking about how he's doing 75 hard and how he was able to stick to it while even on vacation, and how good it felt, how he was up early and he kept microwavable rice to eat and was able to stick to his diet, and how he was up early and walking around before anyone was even doing anything. And Andy joked and said, "Yeah, you feel superior." Jokingly, but not jokingly, he said, people are like, "Oh, you think you're so superior." And he's like, "No, I know I am." And I laughed, and it stuck with me because there are things that I do, habits that I maintain and have maintained for years, that sometimes I naturally find myself judging others. And then I don't have the same level of, "Yeah, I know I am," like he does. I feel guilty about it, about the judging. And I think sometimes, to a healthy dose, it is okay to let your actions speak for themselves, and you don't have to feel guilty about ending up superior than others naturally because your actions elevate you there. It's just how I got here. I don't have to feel guilty about it. Even if I judge you for it, that's what ideals do. You don't have to act superior. You don't have to feel like you're better than everybody else, but it doesn't change the scoreboard that you are. This also reminded me of 3 things that Hormozi says leads to outsized success, or the common 3 traits of the most successful. Feeling superior being one of them, feeling inferior, even though that sounds like a contradiction, I'll go into why I think this dichotomy exists, and impulse control. Those 3 things play hand in hand with each other, and the right balance of them is what leads to the most successful person. And a lot of it is in the nuance that's not to be lost here. Your sense of superiority can only come from your earned evidence of such. When you show up despite the excuses that most people make, when others are sleeping and you are working, when others screw off and you are working, when people waste a decade of their life but you were working, then it is natural for you to feel superior. The guilt only comes when you act it out for show or are boastful about it. And quite honestly, if you believe it fully yourself, there is a cost to that despite how superior you actually might be. You can't fully believe your own superiority. Having the polarity in which you still feel inferior is the fuel to your fire. It's the cat on your back that makes you go run faster towards the cheese. It's the thing that keeps you going, that humbles you, that makes you work like someone is out to eat your lunch daily, that never allows you to get comfortable. And impulse control is out of the scope of this episode, but to close the loop, I think it's the quality that enables it all. Impulse control that allows you to make the right decisions at the right time. You see, we have a moral licensing effect inside all of us that keeps us centered. If you exaggerate yourself in feeling too superior, or you believe that you are and you act that you are, then you will also crash your own self down and humble your own self down and take away all credit from yourself in this superiority that you've once felt by making yourself feel bad now. You will autocorrect. It's almost like the good buys the bad. In other regards, in the moral realm, people do this by doing some good deeds and then in a way that buys them some bad deeds. It's almost like the good buys the bad. That's how we justify it internally, at least. There are built-in mechanisms within us that keep us from completely destroying ourselves and throwing ourselves in dangerous situations. Survival, after all, is the ultimate goal, is what we are optimized for. But the takeaway here today is that if you could strip away what this sense of superiority means for anyone else and focus in on what helps you earn it, this sense of feeling inside of yourself, the actions that help you earn it, then I propose that it would result in you changing, because the effort it takes to earn this confidence in yourself can only have a net positive effect on your life. The feeling is just a bonus, icing on the cake. The effect that doing 75 hard will have for this person's life in their level of fitness, in their level of discipline to adhere to all other things like reading daily or doing 2 workouts a day or eating a clean diet, whatever. The effect of all these things will be much greater than what these simple things are and what they do for his life. And only after all that does he get the slight sense of a good feeling about himself that he actually might deserve the good things in his life because he puts in the work for them that other people are not doing. And that's all I'm saying this sense of superiority is. Again, in a world of not good enough, of low self-worth, of feeling like we don't measure up, of feeling inferior, this sense of superiority is only a contribution to your self-worth. It's only a positive nudge towards maybe finally feeling like you deserve more, and that maybe you're actually worthy of more because you act out with discipline through the difficulty and challenges. It is a hard sense of comfort in yourself through the evidence that you stack for you. And I struggle with giving myself credit for many things. But if you saw me in my daily life through the consistency with which I do things, even take this podcast, for example, and consider how many days I've taken off from it. Hint, it's 0. It is hard to not feel good about myself. It's hard to not feel like I deserve, maybe even foolishly, but still I feel like I deserve more success than another person who is less consistent than me, who is less disciplined, who wants it less. It's natural for me to feel judgmental. But again, like the auto-correcting mechanism inside of us, I don't let myself get away with this too much because, like they say, if you want to make yourself feel better, you look at people behind you. And if you want to make yourself feel like you ain't shit for motivation, then look at people ahead of you. And it's this fine balance that I try to maintain, which if I get right, and if Hormozi is right about the 3 traits of successful people, then all this is contributing to me and my inevitable success. And only time will tell, I guess. But I will keep showing up. That I have faith in, like the sun coming up. What can you say about yourself that is this indisputable about you? What do you know that you can be counted on for? Lean into that knowing of self. Use that sense of confidence as a springboard for expanding what you take on in other areas. You bring those same qualities with you. You can count on that. How you do anything is how you do everything. All that you build in one area goes with you. Just like all those excuses you make, all the things you fail to take full advantage of, all of that weakness travels with you too in your psyche. This is why every little thing you do means something. It is all a contributing vote to who you are and what you think about yourself in the darkness. And in my darkest moments, there are parts of me I still cannot deny. Even from when I think the worst of me, there are parts of me that I know are better than the best of someone else. Nurture the undeniable. And how you feel from that self-respect, it's not a bad thing. It's earned. Love you, family. Stay true. Always. See you on the next show.